is it's like it's gonna have it's like having a Green Party or a Libertarian in the debate. It's a wild card. It could do anything. Dude, remember how they said Trump had no chance?
I know. Just start it. Start the broadcast. So let's not talk about it first. We'll cover it and then we'll.
Oh, wait a second. It is. The broadcast has started.
The broadcast has started.
Yep.
Welcome to the Jimmy.
It's the same old crap in the news, but not this time. This time, Tulsi Gabbard's running for president. Oh, wait, I got a cord on my guitar. That's causing trouble. But in the end, the corporate Democrat is going to lose. I think it could happen. What do you think, man?
Do I think that the corporate Democrat will lose?
To Tulsi Gabbard. Is it possible?
Dude, you know.
It could happen.
You know the answer to that it's not cut. Like, it's like they're going to put up a huge fight.
They are going to put up a deadly fight. Look, Joseph Howard is in the chat. We got Stephen Harrison in the chat.
Well, Stephen, hello here, Joseph.
Bam. See, because when Tulsi Gabbard announces Reefercake pounces, and then and then cool Cat is there.
I'm here.
Step in, like straight out of work. He just comes out of work. He's like, "Yep, whoa." Tulsi Gabbard announces, boom, boom, Twitter tweet. Here I am. It's 9:56 Eastern time, Friday night. I got a few whiskeys in me. Oh, look what we got. Final three. Bernie, Tulsi, Beto. Beto goes home crying. Okay. Anyway, Cool Cat, thanks for coming, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
This is like kind of like a celebration. I can't believe that it's really nice that you could join me to celebrate Tulsi announced just to run. It's going to shake things up, man. I hope.
Give me a second.
All right, no problem. Red Baron says, "Hey, Jimmy, what's up, Red Baron?" Yeah, the viewership on live stream is pouncing on this, man, just like Reefercake's pouncing.
Okay, sorry.
They want to get this probably could be the first interactive style video on the Tulsi Gabbard announcement on YouTube on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, here we are. Now what can we say? That's the tough part. I have a lot to say, my friend.
I do, but you
want to start? Give me something, and then I'll come or I'll start. It's up to you.
Well, okay. Let me just throw it out there. I'll say a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, hit me.
I'll try to make it quick. First of all, Tulsi Gabbard, when asked was she running like a week or two ago, she said she wasn't sure. People thought, is she hesitating because she wants to find out if Bernie's running for sure?
Right.
And if Bernie does run, how will that change the dynamic? And it doesn't mean that it's going to be like, oh, they're competing against each other. In fact, they're going to be sharing the stage or the same platform, essentially, and they're going to be fighting back against corporate assholes. And we know, depending on how things go, I mean, I tweeted this, and I was like thinking, Sanders, Gabbard, 2020?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing about her is she's got multiple dimensions of appeal that then, like, she's been through a transformation. If you look at the Tulsi timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this thing has evolved from a woman who was raised in like a religious kind of conservative family, right?
Sure.
Like either like Catholic / Hindu, but both religious.
She went, right?
Yeah, she's in Hawaii. She went with the Hindu. She was given a choice, but very like conservative. Went to an all-girls school in, I believe, maybe some fucking place. I don't know. I lost track of some of the stuff I just looked at. But the point of my story is like they get on her for stuff like for like gay marriage, for example.
Right.
She's totally for gay marriage now. She wasn't really. She was like a kind of a wobbler back when she was a young woman coming out of a religious background.
Sure.
And she switched. That's a fantastic transformation.
And she
why hold that against her?
Right. And she didn't switch like just because it was convenient. Like I think it was something that she, learned about herself or something like that. Where we've seen like with Hillary, she switched her position 3 years before an election, which was obvious that if you're as old as you are, as he was, and you've had this position, you do it 3 years before you're going to run for president. It's pretty much a bullshit tactic to try to get elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and then the other things they go at her for is sort of like connections with a guy named Modi, who's the Indian leader now. I guess he runs the whole India. Yeah, fucking Modi. And there's some violence that happened a long time ago. It's pretty bad, religious tensions. And along with that, there was a time period where she said that she kind of goes on, she coming from a military background, she would say radical Islam is a thing you can say, right? Like, so that, they go at her for that. She would go on when, and I think that was a terminology issue. Like she just felt that's the terms that she was brought up with in a military background or from her background. Like radical Islam is just a term that she felt was a useful term. I don't know. It's weird.
So I'm got Twitter up as well, and I follow Michael Tracy. You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
From TYT, and he retweeted this. It doesn't mean anything, the retweet, whether or not it's a support of or just trying to make people aware, but he retweets from Mark Caputo, which I don't know who that is. And he tweets a picture of Tulsi Gabbard, and has a quotation, Assad's mouthpiece in Washington. RNC welcomes Tulsi Gabbard to the presidential race with a moniker that many liberals probably agree with as well. And there you go. It's going to be their hammer on point. Like you're an Assad apologist or some bullshit like that.
Oh man.
And here comes the war machine that's going to pay anybody who continues to breed that bullshit.
Yeah. And I can't even tell you, how I don't even know if you're watching the Majority Report at all still or not.
Go ahead though.
No, you're not.
Because I find Michael Brooks awesome.
Yeah. So you're not understanding the kind of like abuse that I've been taking just for standing up with this support of Tulsi for the reasons that I feel are very well founded, from her consistent anti-war, like basically going there, being in the trenches in a fucking battleground. And then guess what they come at her for is because she says drones. She's not going to go against drones.
Right.
Well, she probably saw so many fucking people split open and shit that like maybe drones, maybe that's the way she thinks. I mean, it's really very like disheartening when you think of how these same people were supporting, and even the other candidates they support now or seem to not want to shit on so much are very much more like, don't show any more anti-war chops. Like, show me some chops. We know what we want to hear, right, man? Cool Cat. What do we want to hear? I mean, we want to hear like no regime change, which at the end of the day is going to mean less expense and less death,
Well, the thing about it is, my understanding is, Assad is a democratically elected, and I could be wrong about that. I guess the Iran, they're democratically elected. But I think the thing about regime change is not only is it a long process and it's expensive, but then we have seen in history with U.S. foreign policy that there's the issue of blowback, to stabilize a whole region. And granted, they're going to parse it up between Saudi Arabia and fucking Israel. Israel's already occupied the Golan Heights, and And you know, this whole thing about, I just want to address this because
it's crazy. All these Majority Report little guys are jumping in on our chat now. They're like, LOL, Assad democratically elected. So apparently they question the fact that he's democratically elected.
Well,
That's all it is.
Fact check that. Like I admitted I wasn't really sure about that, but
yeah,
I'm gonna make
who the fuck knows
that U.S. involvement basically around the world as when we do things like, well, Vietnam, for instance, where we actually were just staging a coup in South Korea because we didn't like the guy. Like, blowback is really the term. Blowback is what it gets us in Iraq, and blowback. We get the problems in with Pinochet and Nicaragua and Cuba, and like, you know, like blowback is really like the point to be made. And if we look at Syria, we know Israel has interest. We know that Saudi Arabia has interest, and this idea, and like I said, I want to address this.
Right.
People made this argument that Noam Chomsky supports the U.S. in Syria. You have to listen to Noam Chomsky and even read his writing, but he is very nuanced in what he has to say and will explain it thoroughly. That he doesn't mean like I support what U.S. is currently doing in Syria. It is if the U.S. cares about the Kurds, then yeah, we should stay there to defend them in the sense that they won't bomb the Kurds if U.S. troops are there because they'll be afraid to bomb U.S. troops. But that's not why we're there. And so, you know, it's a caveat to say that if we're doing this, that'd be one thing, but we're not doing that. And so he's not supporting our involvement in Syria. He's just saying that with that caveat, if it was that case. And then, of course, he would say, well, we should have the world, you know, the UN or whatever, be part of that protection thing. And so it's really like just skewed to, and they like to co-opt Chomsky because it gives them credibility when they can, but they don't.
But they don't stay consistent with him. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't understand. Like, this is the thing they want to obsess on. Tulsi is this thing that had to do with this other leader, Modi, who had a violent thing going on in this country, India, right? Mm-hmm. And India is basically an ally of ours, right? So should we be like pissing on the leader of India? How many leaders do we do? Like, what are we supposed to not speak with the leaders who lead another country? Like, maybe they have some crazy religious fucking fight that happened 10, 20 years ago almost now. Does that mean we're going to be a fucking douche? Like, if it's racist, honestly, to me. It seems like you can't let go of these old fights and let a country, because I don't know what's going on with Modi, but it seems like I know India is like an ally of ours, right? Yeah. India is a pretty humongous labor battle.
India is a pretty messed up place too.
Oh, of course. Like, they're so messed up places. But to me, it's very odd to, whenever they want to draw like a arrow at someone, they'll just pick an arbitrary leader that they think, but they'll ignore. Of course, Tulsi's very strong, calling out Trump as a bitch for supporting the fucking Saudi psycho murderer prince fucker.
Well, that's right. That's where I think she's going to get some more fuel, is that you look at what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is doing right now and like the media explosion she has. And now you got the same kind of message, you know, uniting with people like Tulsi and Bernie.
Yeah, and it's very, very odd. Again, like, they keep drawing connections. So like, it's fucking, you know, if you touch one person and rub against their shoulder, I mean, if you wanted to do that, you could really do that with everybody much easier than these things are hitting at Tulsi. Like, everybody has shoulders getting rubbed. You know what I mean? It's very odd and very different, the treatment that they're giving Tulsi. And I just like to call them out. You know what I do at the Majority Report. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like they fucking talk of shit about Tulsi, right? and they fucking think I'm gonna put up with it. No, dude, I'm coming back at them.
Yeah, I'll be right.
I'll play this song for the people as you take an interlude. They say Jill Stein is the devil, Tulsi Gabbard is pure evil, acting like support for Assad is a fact. When Tulsi leads on legal weed, they don't appreciate the need. I've taken too much crap, now I'm pushing back. That's right. My Twitter followers see I put out an earnest plea for Brooks and/or Sam Cedar to debate. When Tulsi runs for president, will Brooks and Sam Cedar repent? Eating their own words will be their fate. Despite Brooks and Cedar smearing excrement, Tulsi Gabbard one day will be president. Don't be scared to debate me. There's no reason for you to hate me. Don't be such a bastard over my support of Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, everyone want to be a bastard? There you go. Look at the people being bastards. Okay, so Modi is not the most wonderful man in the world. Again, that means that apparently, oh, dissident peasant, I'm glad you're glad. Maybe that maybe when Tulsi's president, I'll even be more glad. I mean, give me a break. I'm not going to worry about the amount of hate that flies at me. It's just ridiculous. You guys really have issues, you know? I kind of got to understand. I'm looking at someone and listening to what they say, just the way you look at and listen to what Sam Cedar says. And you're coming at me as if I'm some sort of real crazy person. Now, let's just think about legalizing weed at the federal level. Do you know what that would mean? You can debate me, dissident peasant. That'd be great, dude. Like legalizing weed at the federal level. You can't. You guys like don't even understand that she's pushing that, and that means a lot. You're acting like that doesn't. It's just you accept things because you don't understand value. Now, whatever you're worrying about this Hindu shit, I wish I never even brought it up. All right, it's bullshit and it's whatever. I'm more interested in the actual shit that's getting voted on. I have an issue with certain things that Tulsi I would have disagreed with, but over the seriously, you legit mentally slow? No joke. If you are, I'll stop being angry at how dumb you are. Look at these people. There's a bunch of freaking weirdos. You're like sick people. All of you people. You know, you can't accept that I have a candidate, or a lot of people have a candidate they think's fucking pretty good. So mentally ill. Yeah, good job, guys. Let's see what other douchebags are up to here. Jimmy, as a Marxist, Leninist, I will ensure. Okay. Look at all these people, dude. This is hilarious. So, oh, you're back.
I have family members that are having now computer problems right when I'm no other time.
You have solved their problems, or they?
No, I just told them when they get past whatever, call me.
Well, I don't know, man. This is hilarious. I'm just watching these messages come in from. It's like an army of hatred. It's wild.
So I don't know this. I used to do an art show online.
Yeah.
And so it was me and a few other people, and it doesn't matter what you do. There's douchebags like everywhere, and they'll troll just because it's like just something fun they like to do. And so I really just don't, you know.
Yeah.
You can connect people.
But I think some of them are sincere. Like this guy, the dissident peasant, he said he would debate me. So, okay, I'll debate you, dissident peasant. And I actually feel like this guy's a pretty nice guy. It's kind of interesting.
Heard him before.
He's just a guy who, but what I worry about is these people when they get too attached to like this show of the Majority Report, they take it as God. Like they honestly, for some, like just implications that they sort of pick up on, they believe it as God. Like it's like they're listening to the ultimate only source of information. And as you have said, yeah, the stuff to you was so repulsive. You can't even stand it because of the fact of how I mean, you can kind of just quickly say it drives you nuts, but it's mostly, I think, because of the fact that it's not consistent with the message, like with basically an anti-war platform, mostly is what I hear from you, you know, or anti-hypocrisy almost. It's just, it's full of hypocrisy, man.
So I recently watched that movie, The Post.
Yeah.
And you know what that's about, right?
No, what is that?
Well, it's about the Washington Post, and specifically because the story behind it is that, you know, Daniel Ellsberg released the Pentagon Papers, and you know, revealing that every administration, including like Truman and everything after that, had an understanding about what was happening in Vietnam. And by the time they really get to Johnson, you know, they realized that it was a no-win situation, right? And by the time they get to Johnson, they realize this, and that was McNamara and everything. And by the time Daniel Ellsberg releases the Pentagon Papers, it's the Nixon administration, and Nixon is kind of like, I don't want to be the one who fails, be seen as being a failure in Vietnam, so I'm going to, you know, just keep on with the narrative as it has been. And so these papers get released. They get released by the New York Times, but then Nixon sues the New York Times and tries to hold them, like, as, you know, for treason or whatever it is, or whatever. And it's up to the New Washington Post if they're going to decide to print what they got. And that's what the movie's really about. And they do end up printing it. But the reason I bring this up is because the Pentagon Papers show that the corruption across all parties, going as far back as Truman, you know. And if you're a reader of things like Howard Zinn, you would really understand that we have a European foreign policy of, well, we call it neoliberalism now, but really it's imperialism, you know. And that's really, I think, at the root of the kind of thing that we need to be conscious of, and trying to say, hey, if we want equilibrium in our country between the poor and the rich, we have to understand that kind of imperialistic class struggle. And what was successful in our history as a country was when we did have tax rates at 90% under a Republican named Eisenhower. You know, and we had things like a New Deal that worked, and we could continue to replicate those policies that help people versus whatever bullshit garbage the Republicans and Democrats are trying to sell us, you know. But you have to be aware of that stuff and believe it, I guess, in order to you know, want to make a change.
Yeah, the big thing about Brooks that I've fucking crushed him on is he repeats this dumb left. He likes to say, sure, there's such a thing as a dumb left. So he tries to throw all these people into some sort of category. And then other people even start saying this too. Dumb left. Like it becomes like a meme, right? And then they kept saying it. So it was funny. Like I always thought they said it before when they thought, oh, dumb left, and then Hillary was gonna win, right? Like that maybe might have almost made sense. And then Hillary wins, and then you could say, oh, they were dumb, you know, but it was like a funny kind dumb, right? But no, that's not what it is. It's a war to the death with him. It got even more they're dumb. You know, it's like, it's not like that. It didn't go away. It wasn't, the point of the issue was, once you saw that Hillary lost, then you have to say, wait, what is dumb? Was I, like, you don't reevaluate your playing field. That's what they did. They stayed on the same terrain, and they still are living in the past with Tulsi. Like, Tulsi Gabbard fucking rocked their boat. It was like, it's just like with Bernie. They always say, oh, if Bernie was ahead of the game earlier, then he could have beat Hillary, is what like Cedar would say looking back. Yeah. Oh, sure, Sammy. You say that now, but now are you ahead of the game on Tulsi? Right? Or what is the next wave? You're never going to know the next wave. You're never going to be there. You're always going to be just sitting in the fucking middle and then talking shit to everybody, right? That's how I feel about it.
Well, I'll say this. Yeah. Back when I listened to the Majority Report more, and you know, I would hear your name come up because you always wanted to debate Michael Brooks all the time. And
yeah, he was afraid to. He wouldn't do it, and that really pissed me off, to be honest. After all the work I put into the show, and he's going to talk shit about me on the show.
But that's just an easy way to,
and it's just weak.
They don't have to argue with you. But
yeah,
the thing about it was, so as I watched it, you know, you and I would both message in there occasionally. That there was a point where you asked a question to Michael Brooks, and he answered it, and I'll give him credit for this. You said, hey, if Tulsi Gabbard ran for president and she became the candidate, would you vote for her? And he said, definitely. And
right.
And his point, because the type of people that Sam Cedar and Michael Brooks are, and I like Sam, but I just think that Michael Brooks is too disruptive, and he's just like wants to hear his voice all the time. And I don't think he's funny. He's just like a what do they call it? A rude boy that is just somebody who is not like just like Sam. So it's a little changes things up a bit. But
yeah.
But Michael, the thing you know, for them, it's like whoever the candidate in the Democratic Party is, you know, what is it they say? No blue will do, but for them, any blue will do. And they would like to see Bernie Sanders, and they'd like to maybe see some progressives. But at the end of the day, they think that there's an equivalency between somebody like Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, or Bernie Sanders and Pelosi and Bill or Tulsi Gabbard, and any corporate Democrat that will literally have Republican policies and sell them. All they have to do is change the argument, and then all of a sudden Democrats that believe it. And it's like, dude, you know, people should see this for themselves, that these are like very plutocratic policies, and they are not about you, and they don't give a shit about you. So
dude,
you know, and Bernie Sanders is literally like a Hail Mary pass. If he ever becomes president, I can tell you both parties will be against him. He'll have a hard time getting his policy through, but the best thing he can do is use the soapbox or that bully pulpit to get people to maybe do something, protest, amplify that Occupy Wall Street movement. But I honestly believe nobody has the balls to even go ahead and to join that kind of movement.
Hey, so on Brooks, because you said basically you had a nice characterization of him as the rude boy, right? He throws insults in all directions. He's cooler than everybody, you know, like kind of. But, you know, the other thing about him that I find was the thing that made me most insane, maybe, you probably feel this too, is how he's supposed to be a foreign policy guru. Right? It's like, I'm a foreign policy guru because I can say a lot of names of people in other countries, and I know a lot of like names.
I say El Nusra.
El Nusra, la Busla. He's like Bulona. He's like the thing. One of his big things is the guy's name is Lula, right? It is Lula, and I think he's probably right on it. But it is kind of crazy because it's like taking sides on a foreign thing, because it's like, I hate it when they go into corruption politics. The guy broke the law and they put him in prison. And, you know, it's like, but you can't generalize on that as a policy. Like, you know, no, it's like, if someone breaks the law, you're going to have to put them in prison. I mean, you just don't break the law, you know, it's tough.
Here's the thing. If Sam Cedar And this has been my criticism of the Majority Report. If Sam Cedar and Michael Brooks want to understand something a little closer in Venezuela or whatever, Brazil or whatever, like have fucking Abby Martin on your show.
Yes, have a real fucking badass on your show.
Talking about and is actually in there and reported.
Yeah.
Why don't you? What's interesting is Sam Cedar did this intentionally. I know he did, and he acted dumb about it. But he had Ann Pettifor on his show, and I was like, oh, Ann Pettifor, one of the authors of the Green New Deal that they've been slagging on about so much, right? Because Joe Biden, like the Green New Deal, and that's a wacky, nutty, dumb left thing. But they literally have a professor and somebody who is like a renowned economist, Ann Pettifor, who's one of the authors of the Green New Deal, on their show. And what do they ask him about? Money creation. You could have had any asshole on that show, and not that, get Michael Hudson if you got the balls to get him on the show and talk about money creation and rentier and interest-bearing economies and financialization. But why don't you talk to Ann Pettifor about the Green New Deal and what that means? Why don't you get Kate Rayworth on your show and talk to her about the Green New Deal and donut economics and stuff like that, and actually challenge the system versus being a putz and going,
hey man,
hoping you'll just be the show before Rachel Maddow because you guys are on Air America.
And check this out, dude. The Green Party, right? They talk about the DSA. The Green Party is the same thing. I mean, what is the difference from essentially what's the platform difference? So these guys have been shitting on the Green Party. And then they have this DSA sort of friendly attitude that comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same platform. Then that's Ocasio-Cortez is the one saying now Green New Deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a green. It has the word green in it. Is anybody confused on the chat? Right? You fucking, they act like all I'm seeing on this chat is how dumb. It kind of seems like projection in a way to me for these people. Like they really, really have to tell someone how dumb they are, don't they? It's bizarre, man. It's really bizarre. It like the fact that you can't see disruption on the left isn't like a like you have a pessimistic outlook, I can tell, right? Michael, it's like sounds like kind of you think that, but just imagine if these fucking like bridges could be kind of brought together and people could stop fighting, like to the point where with Tulsi it was the example we start with, right? She's just getting hammered on over all this shit. It's like, what is she fighting for though? Like legal weed at the federal level, consistently always anti-war, always says no regime change, is the most prominent on the environment, pro-environment. I mean, you look at the fucking shit she tweets. Called Trump a bitch recently.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough for you people? I mean, it's really kind of like, it's like, what do you want? And then what this grudge is over, it's like I'm trying to grasp at what it is. Like, what is that grudge over? Why all the hatred towards me? Like, why all the hatred towards anyone who even supports Tulsi? I'm getting kicked off the show, it looks like. And because my song I sent in, that's the one I sang, earlier on this podcast. The lyrics basically said, despite Brooks and Cedar smearing excrement, Tulsi Gabbard one day will be president. All right? You like that?
Sure, yeah.
Don't be scared to debate me. There's no need to hate me. Don't be such a bastard over my support of Tulsi Gabbard. Like, they're bastards. They're being bastard people, not allowing an open. It is very. What happened to us last time in this little Democratic primary? What a little putz show it was, with just so few candidates and Hillary already being presumptively the queen of this whole fucking shit show.
Yeah.
What a shit show it was. And the whole reason it was because people didn't just say, let's have a debate. Let's talk about the issues. Let's not fucking smear the fuck out of people and make up our minds before we even have a fucking discussion.
Well, the thing is,
they're afraid to have a discussion, is what I think.
Well, the thing is the the fact that they're just not looking at other sources to like make other cases. And I'm not saying you need to go find Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck and cater to those arguments, because these arguments are ridiculous and lies and bullshit. And I don't go find your crazy Illuminati people and, you know, Hillary's a lizard person or whatever bullshit there is with that. But like I said, I mean, they bring on people like Richard Wolff, and I've watched Michael Brooks's show now, his separate show, twice. And one was because Richard Wolff was on there, and I really wanted to hear more Richard Wolff because I listened to him quite a bit. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious what Michael Brooks would talk to him about, even though him and Matt Lech or whatever his name, however you say the last name.
Yeah.
That they talk about socialism and whatever. But you know, the thing about it is, you can't I mean, I think getting Richard Wolff on there, and if you're asking him questions because you don't know and you're ignorant, then good. Ask him the questions you want answered. If you're on there to lead him and try to lead, questions and support your point, then what you're doing is you're using Richard Wolff. And, I can listen to Richard Wolff on RJ Eskrow's show. What is that, 0 Hour or whatever? I can listen to him on Tom Hartman. I listen to Democracy at Work. I listen to, it's like, I know I've listened to Richard. I've read fucking Richard Wolff's book, Capitalism's Crisis Deepens, because I'm like, hey, he talks about this. I like what he has to say. I don't need Michael Brooks to sit there and tell me what Richard Wolff has to say, but I want to hear that interview or those questions.
To get the slant. What?
Where are you taking us, Michael? Where are you taking
What's the treatment going to be? I'm always curious, like, is there, and every time I find there's a different treatment, right? Like all of a sudden, I don't know what happened on this one. Did it all smooth away? And he just kind of, no disruptions, no hard edges. How did that go? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of gave him, like, glossed him in and let him say whatever. I'm sure he didn't challenge him on anything.
Well, here's the thing. If you take, and I like history a lot, right? And but what I learned was that we learn as a country, we learn history through the lens of war. So if you ask people about, what they know about history, they'll definitely know, like, the Vietnam War. They'll know about World War II because Vietnam War is sketchy whether we won or not, and really no, we didn't. And World War II won, and we're supposed to be the good guys in that scenario, and we can argue we are. I give you that one. World War I is another case where we can, we know that, we know the Civil War, but what about the labor struggle that happened in America? Do we know about the hundreds and thousands of people that died to give you an 8-hour workday, a weekend, holidays, paid overtime?
Yeah.
You know that story? Because that was a war, and that was a war that happened in our country.
Right. In terms of the Tulsi, like, ethno-nationalism, Adam Rainstopper now is commenting quite a bit. Hey, Adam, what's going on, man? I mean, I think that this is a guy who I did some music with, and he's very strong on this anti-Tulsi thing. And it's basically saying that that ethno-nationalism is enough of a reason to not like somebody. But your point, I think, is that our own country is an ethno-national country, right? So you fly the flag of the United States, it's ethno-nationalism, is it not? I mean, there have been a million slaughters that so, like, how do we have to, like, different people rule different countries, and that's kind of the power structure that's in place. So I don't understand why someone with Hindu heritage could get drawn into going to speak at an event or whatever. Like, there might be tensions going through the whole world. Every country is going through this process. And this guy, I don't know what there's a lot of obsession on the Modi guy, but to me, that's a red flag, because I find that you could measure the influence of Modi on Tulsi. Okay, Adam, and I'm talking to your whole point, Adam Rainstopper. Like you could measure, like, what do you really are you honestly trying to tell me that you think that Modi is like planted Tulsi to somehow then like make a huge difference and take over, and her, like, she's gonna listen to him that much more? Maybe. I'm just not sure, dude. I don't think so. My thing is that I think she's much more interested in being president, and this Modi guy was just a small thing. We'll see what she does next. I mean, why not? I don't understand. You know, look at what she's doing today, and I don't understand why you can't listen to what she's proposing on policy today and just let it go on what connections with the Modi guy. Now, I don't know how to analyze that anymore. How could you analyze this connection with Modi anymore? I don't know what else to do with it. Any ideas, Cool Cat?
No.
No, I don't know what to do with it, man. It's just kind of weird. If you, how about we compare it like this, Rainstopper? I'll give it to you like this. Compare it to how many American Democrat, especially politicians, have some sort of support to a certain country that is right now has an apartheid state. Cool Cat, can you name that country?
What is Israel?
Israel is the country. So that guy's name is Netanyahu, and her name was Hillary Clinton, and that's the one who they said they wanted, even presumptively. And then Tulsi's a problem. Okay. What is India have a current? Does India have a current apartheid situation? They probably have a lot of problems, but I don't know.
They do have a problem.
They have problems.
India is a pretty big country, and if you could have the power resting in a particular, like if we took America and we said, and this is kind of how crazy right wingers think, is that the world is, our country is run by California and New York. And there's some truth to, like, I was just listening to, I think it was Jimmy Dore talking about this with his wife. And they were talking about how much influence California does have as far as how much it's, you know, contributes taxes to the rest of the country. And because they're such, you know, what is it? California is like the third largest or something economy in the world or something like that. And it's like, so of course they're producers and makers of stuff and, you know, providing that kind of thing. But to think that it's like California is going to suddenly start sending out police officers to kill people in Dakota or something like that, or wherever, it just sounds ridiculous. But in India, is legit what happens. There's Farsi and different types of Indians in that country, and they're similarly in the way the Middle East works, where Shiites and Sunnis are constantly like killing each other, and Kurds are too. And the idea was that we were told something after World War II, and with the establishment of the U.S. dollar as the international reserve currency, was that trade would be the future and capitalism would be the future of peace and prosperity around the world. And what it has done instead is fueled a military industrial complex. It's fueled more, you know, bad deal making, basically, and oppression. I mean, that's what Vietnam was about. It wasn't about communism. It was about keeping a foothold of the past French imperialism, which is literally what it was, Japanese imperialism, and was given back to the French after the war because that was their colony. And when they could no longer fight Ho Chi Minh and his group of teachers and farmers, they decided to bring in the hard-hitting U.S. America, you know, force and everything. And we still lost because you defeat a native people unless you do it like they did here in this country, which is fucking wipe them out and put them onto reservations and hope they die. And, you know, I'll tell you, that's another book I read was Chris Hedges' book.
Straight Up Killers.
What is it? The Days of Revolt and Days of Destruction or something like that. And he talks about North Dakota and the indigenous people of, you know, that reservation. I forget what it is, with the Black Mountains or whatever. And Yeah, those people are basically just going to go extinct. They're killing them, and we're doing it just so we can get some uranium, and that so that some girl can continue to, have Uggs and bullshit, and we can consume like a bunch of assholes while literally people are a whole culture is dying, and that will happen as long as we continue to want what we want.
It's a simple thing when she says no more regime change wars. I don't understand why you can't do the math. Majority Report, listener, doubters on the thing. Like Adam Rainstopper, my friend. Let's think about marijuana legalization. Now, I know that Maine is benefiting tremendously from legalization in this state. And, I posted some of my very meager grow operation, couple plants here or there on my Twitter. But I got to tell you, if you look at the guys who are doing it right, it's insane. So I should show some pictures of the madness that really is a truly masterful grow operation. But I mean, dude, Michael, how about in Michigan? We had some good news in Michigan, right?
Yeah, so this past election, it became recreational marijuana became legal.
Yeah, yeah.
Our Republican legislature decided to do a couple things. One, they decided to reduce the amount of the tax that it would bring in. And of course, this is a tax so that it won't produce the kind of revenue like Colorado and Washington are getting from it. And it'll keep a bitter taste in people's mouths. And the idea of your fucking constitutional freedom to do what you want will continue to be like not respected by people who aren't huffers and puffers or whatever. And now they're making it so that each basically municipality, it was what I'm like township and whatever, they can decide whether or not you can sell it there or not. And so it's probably going to be very restricted to the east side of the state in certain areas, probably Ann Arbor only.
How about growing it? Do you know about the grow capability?
Well, they also are trying to get rid of that too, because
that's what the Republicans do, right?
That's what they do. But the problem is we have people like, like some Democrats that go along with it too, because it totally can make money. You look at it's John Boehner right now, who just wrote an article about how it should be legal. John Boehner, that guy could have been like, he's the most conservative asshole we ever experienced, and now he's saying that it should be legal. I mean, because there's money involved, and he gets paid.
I have witnessed a grow operation at the commercial level of my friends, and you can see what's going down there. I mean, they're going big. If they can just double it, like maybe he's probably 1/10 of what these freaks want to be, like a giant processing plant with just fucking warehouses and rows of lights, just all they can only grow it in their fucking secure warehouse. And then a guy who just wants to grow a couple plants can't do shit. I think that's bullshit.
Well, the problem with that too is that if they try to regulate it like that, then all they're going to do is just keep the system the way it is, which is saying that there will still be a black market for cheap pot. And the thing about it is, if you're interested, I would recommend watching the whole thing, but you should watch Michael Moore's Where Should We Invade Next? And he goes to, I believe it's Portugal, that has decriminalized drugs. So if you're a user, they don't throw you in jail. They try to help you and then, and wean you off of it, basically. And what they do is they kill a black market for it. And they also reduce crime because people aren't breaking into your homes and robbing people and doing that kind of stuff. They're not desperate anymore. And that's what people in the black market feed off, is desperate people. So the government actually does what we expect it to do, which is take responsibility and try to help their citizens, and that's one way that they do it, and they have a lot of success. So,
and when weed is illegal, people get hurt. Like it's a punitive, and children get hurt, like parents get hurt. You know, like it's not like it's indiscriminate. Like Rainstopper had a comment here. He goes, no, let's not change the subject. I want weed legal, but I wouldn't kill a single child to do it. And that's like he's acting as if Tulsi is going to kill children, I guess, on one hand.
Can I say something about that?
Insanity. Yeah.
I would say that I did want to bring it up because I think Graham Elwood made a good point in one of his videos about that he likes Tulsi a lot. You're right. He agrees with her on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But he wants to keep it real. And this is really the challenge that I think both sides, when I say that, I mean, it's like our side, let's say, and then the majority report side is that, critical of both sides. And I think this is another thing that when I heard Sam Cedar and Jimmy Dore debate, that Jimmy Dore was trying to make the point that they both essentially agree. Now, Jimmy Dore, to be like, he's honest with himself. He's a terrible debater, and he really is. And it's because he tries to think of shit off the top of his head, and he can't recall the best arguments or phrase them in the best way, while he essentially is not in like a argument debate mode with somebody. He's in a casual conversation mode with people. And I think when he says, well, we have the same values or same, coming from the same point, he really means we both have the same intentions for what we want. Now, Sam Cedar is a very good debater, and he's a person who likes to be who he is, appear to be really super smart and all this kind of stuff. And he put it to Jimmy and said, no, we don't, aren't blah, 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 but you are, because I've listened to both of you. You agree. You just think Hillary Clinton and her incrementalism and the Democrats and all of them, that they're going to get us there. And it never does. And instead, what we get is more bullshit and worked over all the time. And, when an old lady gets evicted from her house because she owes 38 cents and, you can't come up with a economic policy that can help ordinary people, but you can bail out the banks or whatever, or you can work with Steve Mnuchin and because he's going to give you campaign contributions or whatever. Well, that gives me suspect against Hillary, Obama, Kamala Harris, and the whole lot.
Right.
You're not willing to chain yourself to the people who are suffering and if you're going to arrest them, that you go with them too. And the only person I seen who's a fucking pitcher was Bernie Sanders, who put his career and his life in his record on the line for people who are suffering. Now have balls like that and do something, So you convinced me that that's the kind of thing. Oh no, we'll get there eventually. Well, I'm sorry. You only have so much time, and you guys nobody's made a strong case on the TV or anything about climate change. And
Tulsi went to the pipeline. Sorry to interrupt you on that. The climate change. Tulsi is a great environmental supporter, dude. She went to the fucking pipeline protest, not like Obama didn't, right? Obama drank the water and pretended he was drinking water.
Well, yeah, that was here in Flint. He did that, though. Oh, the water's fine. Well, listen to Jordan Sheraton still, because he's still working on that project. There's people out there, and they're gentrifying the area, and they're using that water to get people to move and make them sick, and people are dying, and children are having problems, and it's like that's where we should be really focused, not on whatever other bullshit we're trying to do somewhere else.
Yeah, like all this stuff. There you go, right there, Adam. We just talked about you were worried about a child dying, weren't you? So we just said how Tulsi's support of the environment is way stronger than a lot of Democrats, for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can say that for sure. Don't you think going out to the fucking pipeline means something? Tulsi also with the drones. My only thing I already said, I guess, is that if you were serving in the military, I was opposed to putting people in harm's way. I'm not a supporter. So like when I hear the arguments like against Tulsi, the only things that kind of get me, and I will give credit to, is like those sort of things. But those are, like you said, all the same. There's not a single other candidate. Is Bernie against drones? Maybe he is.
I don't think necessarily he is either.
Yep. Take that, guys.
When I brought that up, my point was really that Graham Elwood was a person who was saying he likes Tulsi, he likes everything she stands on. This is an area that is open for critique and criticism, and to do that makes him a balanced, a person of opinion, because he can say, well, these are the why we should support her, and this is maybe reasons why we should push back and question her or whatever.
I agree with the principle of what Adam says. Drones make it easy and painless for cowards to remotely kill without ever having to see the faces of the people you're murdering. Although they might be able to see the faces on the cameras they're using. Who knows? It's horrible, Adam. I agree. But obviously, Obama was the premier agent in that. And it's, I don't know how to measure. I think the best way to reduce this problem is to reduce the overall budget of the military.
Yeah,
and you're going to reduce the death by reducing the budget, but also reduce the interventionary ideas, because that's when the death toll usually really rises up. Like Tulsi's message is always, when you go for regime change, then you're going to throw, like, we see the blown up buildings and all the hospitals blown up and shit.
So there's a really terrible statistic, and I think the first time I heard the statistic, and it stopped at the Vietnam War, was when I was watching Ken Burns' documentary on the Vietnam War, and I think they were saying something like 70% of the people that were killed by the bombings were civilians. And previously in World War II, that statistic was like, I don't know, something less than that, right? And so it can increase. And by the time we get to Iraq and Afghanistan, that percentage is 90% of what those bombs kill are innocent civilians. And so the thing about it is, the part of the problem I have is that our solution for this is to destroy. And that's not just buildings and the things we produce, but the people. And if you give a fuck about life, or you give a shit about minorities or women or any other, and this is where this, what is it, identity politics come to place. If you have any sense of empathy towards that kind of thing, you should be 100% against any kind of war, unless it's an offensive war that's another side caused and is attacking our country. But us going over there to stop Assad or whoever motherfucker, I don't like Erdogan, I don't like Duarte, I don't like this dude in Brazil. But if you say, well, hey, they're killing people over in this other country, don't you think we should get involved? Not unless the rest of the fucking world is getting involved, because all we're going to do is we're not over there to help people.
Cool cat. Hey, if you're out at a, drinking out at a bar or something, and you see a fight break out, do you just jump into that fight? Like, it's not anyone you know, right? No.
Come on, let's get along.
You see a fight, you're like, you know what? I want some of that. That's not what I want to be. I'm not that guy.
That fucking West Side Story, right?
I'm not just looking around for wherever a fight is and be like, I want in. No, dude. That's what I'm the best. It's it's a mental illness. And if my buddy is in a fight, I suppose I don't even want to fight, but I might have to, it's ridiculous.
Right.
It's an attitude that is simply refuted with logic. And so they talk about this Modi, some people fighting in India, and I hate this. It's really bad when people fight, and sometimes it gets really horrible. I mean, it always is, but the levels can be tremendous. And we got other people. I got a guy here, now we got a guy, Indian guy, I can tell. He's kind of saying that he feels like people are just acting weird about someone who's Hindu and trying to, because it's kind of weird. I mean, the overlap of you're supporting a religion, and then maybe the guy who's also supporting that religion is the figurehead of it. You get an overlap going, right? That's how I feel, like a Christian thing too. Like, I'm sure there's a million Christian fucking, the whole deal with our foreign policy. It's just basically saying, like, I want to go look at someone else. This is what bugs me about the most, I guess, is like this obsession with, instead of just looking at our own self and what we're doing, I want to look at some other country, look at what they're doing, what they did that many years ago, when even since then we started a whole other Iraq war. Adam Rainstopper, this thing that this guy did, Modi, we started a whole fucking Iraq war, bud, after that. And then we started 4, I guess, wars. Then Obama added 3. We got 7 wars.
Here's the reason I don't think we'll ever get involved.
How are we able to say anything? I don't get it.
If this
Go ahead.
About us getting involved in like India, right? Is that what the Modi guys from India?
No, yeah, you're never gonna. They won't ever stop with this India. So basically, for some reason, her connection. I think you can't. You're still like, wow, this is crazy, right? How is this obsession? This basically is like the drones thing. I get that's a violent thing. She supports it, okay. But the Modi thing is very, very much a connection, like that is weak. So now Adam says I have to stop criticizing Israel now. Yeah, good point. Maybe I need to understand how to criticize India better. I don't know what to do, but yeah, that's where we're at on this Modi thing.
Okay, well, no, let's see if we can kind of parse that out, because actually I don't know much about the India thing and the Modi thing. But if it's an issue of being similar to Israel in the sense of like the apartheid and the murdering and stuff like that, well, I agree that we should sanction or not. I mean, the boycott movement, you know, if individuals are like, well, I'm not going to do anything to support Israel financially, that should be their right. I don't think we should be giving our tax money to Israel. I don't think we should be giving military support to Israel. And if that's my litmus test for supporting a regime that's shitty, then don't do it for India either. You know, I mean, there you go. But I'm not talking about invading fucking Israel, and I'm not talking about invading Syria, and I'm not talking about India. I'm not talking about invading any country, because the only reason we invade countries are not for humanitarian reasons. They're not to spread democracy or any bullshit like that. It's for profit. And the reason we are interested in Syria and Iran and those places, oil. That's the only reasons. It's oil, profit. The reason we were fucking around in South America, United Fruit Company, the Coca-Cola, the rubber industry. Those were things that were fueling our economy. And the rich people, it's the same thing they did in the Philippines. It's the same thing they did in Asia. And by the time when they're done with those countries, they get the fuck out and they leave them with debt, and they leave them broken. And that's it. So it's not about humanitarian anything.
Like the main thing we like about Tulsi is how she doesn't seem likely to start. You understand how many wars have been started, okay? And like the whole attitude of what we're looking at. If you want to talk about death toll in numbers, I believe that's the focus. So you can look at this India stuff. Actually, I do not support. I want to just say I do not support Hindu nationalism, whatever that means. It's not like a thing I would say I support. It sounds a little over the top, but that's I know that in Israel, they just had like I'd like to compare. If you want to compare, I would love to. So if you guys want to do a side-by-side comparison, in Israel, I know they just passed a freaking thing that was like literally declaring them to be a Jewish state and having a whole set of laws. So I want you guys, if you want to really get me on the chat and show what's up, show how fucking right you are, how much more Hindu nationalist. This is a question I fucking want to pose to all you people who say I don't care about the facts and I'm a dumbass and all that shit. Research. You think you know the answers? Put it side by fucking side right now. What is Hindu nationalism versus Jewish nationalism? Show me those two things on India versus Israel, and then I will absolutely love to look at it. And I don't have any bias just because of Tulsi. And Tulsi, just because she might have hung out with the dude who's the Hindu nationalist guy, if you prove that they're equal, then you're just giving her the same check mark that everyone has over on the Israel side.
Well, it sounds like also
right. It's the same, but we'll find out. I don't know.
It sounds to me also like the argument that they made about Barack Obama going to that Reverend White, or I think it was Reverend White.
Yeah.
Reverend White, anti.
Thank you.
This stuff or whatever, and the right wingers made all this argument that hey, it's Obama is part of this guy who believed this and did this and whatnot, and liberals had to defend that too. And I'm not saying that that is right, but I would like to just think that, well, you know, a person can listen to somebody objectively. They can make their own decisions. They can tell you what's right and what's wrong. And but it's having the ability to sit and listen or talk to that person, and then maybe you can convince them that they should see it differently than that. You know, but if you're just going to close your mind out to, you know, I don't know. Like I like to think that Tulsi is a better candidate today than maybe her problems of the past, and we'll have to see how that is. But at the same time, I feel like she's a better candidate than Kamala Harris or Cory Booker.
Right.
And I don't know. I like Elizabeth Warren, but I know she's a basket problem case too. But I don't want to fucking see Hillary Clinton. I don't care to see Joe Biden. I don't want to, and I know Chuck Schumer ain't running. I know Nancy Pelosi or but I don't want to see any of them either. At least give us something that's moving in the right direction. If you're going to be about incrementalism, then you'll take Tulsi, just like Michael Brooks said. He'll take her and vote for her if she becomes a candidate, and you'll vote for her and you'll like it. So at the end of the day, nobody cares if you disagree with that now or not. You'll vote for her when the time comes, because it could be worse. It could be Trump.
Yeah, we've already even said you're talking about all these people here. They're complaining and shit, but it's like, oh my God, another person on the stage. And also I'd say everyone is not complaining. There's definitely a lot of Tulsi support as well, but it's been an absolute smear fest on the Majority Report against Tulsi Gabbard, and it's been disingenuous. Go
ahead, but
it's been an unequal treatment. It's been even dropping my name within this treatment, and then when I have this song ready, I fucking send in this song. They can't get the balls to play it. And guess what? She fucking declares presidency the same fucking day. Who wants to suck on that?
Boom.
That's how we do it. And then guess what? I don't care. I don't got to win. But you got someone on the stage who's saying the right things. You guys don't even get how Jimmy Reefercake gets down. It's a simple fucking way to do shit. You get people out there who have the fucking balls on the issues to say the shit. You don't shit and smear those people into a corner. Those are your fucking badass. Those are the people who got on Joe Rogan, right? Do you see Tulsi on Joe Rogan, Cool Cat? I don't know if you watched that at all. He's a little bit testosterone fucking infused. But
I watched him a few times, but I didn't watch the one with him and her.
Well, I think that's one you would like. Yeah. I mean, she fucking hit it out of the park. Any of you guys, want to check that out, get a taste of it. It's kind of insane. You have to look at the product. That's the thing that gets to me, is like, it's very, very blind what I see these people doing. Like, it's like they don't know how to evaluate talent. It's like, when I go back to my thing, I like basketball a lot, right? And just imagine you had like a high school team, right? You have to cut sometimes. You don't have you got to make the team. You got you live in a town, right? You live in this town, that the neighboring town, they fucking have tryouts and they go crazy and they just go nuts. They beat the hell out of each other, and the fucking coaches are scratching their heads, picking the best guys, right? Like, they had to do that. But say that in the town you live in, that wasn't how it worked at all. It was like, oh, Bobby Boy knows Jimmy Bob, and then that's who got to make the team. Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel. I feel like my town is not even having a proper basketball tryout. The coaches aren't even looking at talent. They're insiders. picking people who they know, who knows who people said they know who should. They're not even looking at the skills. If you watch Tulsi Gabbard and you see how she moves, you see how she responds to questions. You see how just pleasantly, and you know, you look at everyone else. Did you look at Trump, the Nancy Pelosi and Schumer after that Trump speech? Did you look at them? Just look at them. That's death. That's like looking at two, like it's just it's horrendous.
You know what they were doing there is, and it's the same thing that they were trying to do in the office when Trump and them were talking. It was televised or whatever. Is what they're trying to do is they assume that the rest of the country has a very, like, I don't mean conservative in the crazy like nut kind of Republican way, but like like a sense of decorum, right? And I think they were just trying to keep it together and let this loudmouth wacko be who he is, and let that just show themselves as being stable and having the right decorum and stuff, and that people would see, oh wow, he really is crazy in comparison to other people. But what they don't realize is people doctrine or conditioned for the past 8 years of seeing Trump being a nut job. And the thing is what it appeared was more, here's a guy who's lecturing some bad dogs in front of them. And they don't look strong, and they don't look like they come from a position of power. And honestly, truthfully, maybe the only one who did was Nancy, because she kept saying to him, okay, if you can pass it, pass it. And she kept challenging him. And guess what? He turned around and accepted that challenge, and they passed it in the House.
But hey, man, Michael, it's like, imagine if instead of what they presented, you had someone come in who just impassionately, immediately, said that what Trump said about all the drugs, he literally said all the drugs come in through the border, like as if it was Vietnam coming through the border that he was going to stop. If you had someone come in with like charisma and fucking intelligence and just impassionately ripped him, like, or did something that just being good, like they were just like robots who had something stuck up their asses. And it was an ugly, like, it didn't give me any hope of like, oh, that's all right. I need another hero. I didn't see the shining light of like, it's not going to work, guys. I'm sorry. I can tell you this. It's not that I like, remember Obama. I can tell you because I remember Obama. Sam Cedar was not for Obama. No.
I don't remember.
Obama was kind of like a little outside. He was like, oh, whatever. He was more of a fucking, he eventually might have gone Obama, but whatever that Southern white guy who had the affair was. But anyway, my point is that like Obama was like an out of nowhere superstar guy who orated and had the skills, like behind the back, fucking 3-pointers, left-handed. Like you look at it, you see it, you know what's up. Right. You let the people play. You observe them in their environment. That's what I'm telling all of you fucking guys on. It's insane how dumb they are, that all they're looking at is like this echo chamber of a Jacobin article of talking points. And it goes back to talking points. Right. So like I'm telling them all to just go out, look at them on the court. See who's naturally the point guard, who's naturally the one making all the plays. Who do you see who knows how to do shit? Like to say the right things, to make those scores. Who's on Joe Rogan? And like the other, just look at her appearances. Chris Matthews, she fucking like a lot of the shit, the bitch tweet. So, and then I have this comment. Are you seriously basing your support on stage presence? From Misha Romo? And yes, Misha, that is a large part of my support. And I'll even say like something that gets me, that I'll tell, like I love Bernie and everything, and I think it's got a great, like I want him to be president, but I worry there's some kind of perception of how he looks, like that basically won't get through to certain young people who are it's young people I'm looking at, I'm talking about. They're just so shallow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not necessarily policy oriented. I mean, I can't
no
say
policy.
that that's 100% true, but I also think that sometimes our perception of the world also hinges upon our social circles. So if we're around smarter people who talk about issues, then it becomes like, oh, well, no, millennials are way more conscious of the issues today than the previous generation. But then if you're hanging around with like the Kim Kardashian, don't give a bullet crap, and just, you know, are more cared about the studded collar you're going to buy for your ugly looking dog or whatever, like, in that all of a sudden becomes like not about the issues. It becomes about, well, I don't like that old looking guy. I'd rather have somebody who looks more, you know, and then it is about image. And it's like, so I think it just really does depend on the social circles we're in. So it's hard to gauge that as a generality, but you know, maybe we'll find out that that is something. I feel like people are conscious of Trump and that they're against him. And I think whether Bernie becomes the candidate or Kamala Harris, even, that people will gravitate to the politician against Trump. The problem with it is if it does become and not somebody like Bernie Sanders, then the ugly face that is Trump and the plutocrat and the neoliberal, all that kind of image, gets painted over with a prettier face again, and we can talk about lattes and bullshit like that rather than, and whether or not she wore a tan suit or whatever the crap is that they're going to talk about, versus right now we're talking about Yemen. Right now we're talking
Misha Romo just made a good point. Young people are shallow. Young people like Bernie, though. So actually, that's a good point. Probably I have his totally,
and that's why
owned on that statement. I'm thinking of certain people I know, not the overall population.
That's why it's hard to make a generality, but I think say it in that context. But you know, we'll find out.
Probably really not young people, but I think it's probably like a all around. I don't know. Because he's getting older and older. They're gonna give him the old card, basically. Well, he's got like the hunched shoulders, kind of, and he's got, you know, he just looks really old. I don't know.
I don't give a shit about how old he is.
I don't give a shit either.
Integrity, and you know, if when Bernie Sanders, when he announced he was running for candidacy, it wasn't with a picture, and this is literally what Hillary did. She took a picture with Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. Look how that turned out, Hillary. You made another bad decision. And that was her way of announcing, because she wanted to appeal to millennials on a superficial level. Bernie went out there and talked about, hey, I know you have some college debt, but let me tell you something. If you look at Europe, those kids aren't stuck with college debt. Do you think we could afford it in the world? Yes, we can. How about healthcare? You know anybody who's sick? Hey, I'm going to connect to you on your problems. And when people are like, Bernie, you and Hillary's hair are, he literally said, I don't think the American public cares about people's hair. You know, and it's like, thank you, Bernie, because we don't. You know, like you got to keep it real. You know.
Yeah. Well, everybody who's getting all tuckered out from all this Tulsi talk, I don't know, man. I'm feeling like really excited about this. Adam Rainstopper, thanks for the music, man. It's really great working with you. And whatever this Tulsi thing is, how about we just look at it as I don't understand why. I don't know. Probably this isn't the case. I think it's just two people who have different preferences of candidate. I don't see why it has to get really to be. And I don't think I don't know. A lot of people are saying I'm a dumbness, and they're using all this derogatory, but you don't have to. I think you're more just saying you have these issues that are bugging you. Whatever. I think that's how can't we just let them play the game? All right. You know, let them get out in the court and see what Tulsi's going to do. I think in one hand, what's going to be funny to me is when all of the shit talk that I've taken from the Majority Report, that I've heard them say, it's basically what Sammy would say. He just would go, Tulsi talks to hate groups. she talks to hate groups, and he would drop that. That was and then it would be like, oh, and then that had to do with some kind of a talk she did at this Hindu thing. Well, of course, that's Hindu nationalist, and then therefore, because the there was some kind of violence that was Hindu related against the Muslims, and blah blah blah. So it's very, it was very kind of deceptive and like a lot, like just not cool. The way you would just say, oh, someone speaks to hate groups. Like I see this whole sort of a soft blackout going on. Like even if you look at Elizabeth Warren announcing that she elected and how that's going to pop up on your timeline and shit. I'm not sure. When did Tulsi actually announce? Was it today? Like literally today? Or was it?
I think announced tomorrow. She says, okay, here's the thing. Representative Tulsi Gabbard says she will run for president in 2020. I have decided to, this is a quote, I have decided to run and will be making a formal announcement within the next week.
Okay. So. Okay. Well, that's pretty nice, man. I think that this like it's like I almost feel like I was pushing this all along. It's been treated as if I wasn't. It's just like a repeating movie for me. By the way, I'm saying like just like marijuana legalization. Oh, you're crazy. You're a madman, or whatever. Like, no, it's actually good. Like same thing with Tulsi. Like because she came from the outside. I think what scares them the most is the fact that she had the balls to step out and go against Hillary at that moment. And then they started to, and then what scares them as well is the fact that she met Assad and like she's having a new, even her, you know how what a political threat it is for them to have someone with a new idea on foreign policy? That's just politically threatening. Even if she never gets it done, like that's what Trump did. He came in there to the Republican Party and basically stepped them into this like non-interventionist sort of like he did talk that non-interventionist talk without being a libertarian. Simultaneously, he's calling Ron Paul a fucking piece of shit, right?
He did it for the advantage of being able to criticize Democrats.
Yeah.
And this is part of the
exactly.
criticism of the Democratic Party is that it's like, okay, if you continue to follow Republicans and their policies, then when it comes time to have to, you know, run against them, why? We're getting Republican policies anyway, you know, and all you've done is you've given them fodder to be able to say, hey, look, we're in Iraq and Afghanistan. Obama hasn't got us out, and look how many people, and look how many soldiers, and how much it costs.
Just giving fodder.
You'll be like, no, it was Bush that got us involved in that, and then that candidate can go, well, I didn't like Bush either, you know, and it's just like, well, okay, now he becomes the anti-war, you know, candidate. And when he gets in there, he's not really anti-war. And if we look at this thing with Syria, which it's hilarious that Democrats are trying to be like, we need to stay in Syria. What? You're crazy. Yeah. And now it's like you, if he's going to pull out, it really looks like, no, he's just going to put Eric Prince in charge, you know, like that's not really getting out, you know, that's just putting us in charge.
The simple math of it is a song I did with Adam Rainstopper called 7. It was never should have started the Iraq war. Bush had the number of wars at 4. Obama made it 7. There you have it, right? I mean, what else do you need to know? And he ran the way. So we've all been hoodwinked, and it's very like traumatic, or just I don't know if it's traumatic. It's like you're either going to know you were hoodwinked or you don't know. Right? It like, do you really think Michael Brooks's signature always to me was kind of like Obama apologist on the foreign policy? Because all you got to do is say there's bad guy, this guy, name the names, name the sides, say one of them is more better. You know, like it's just dumb. Like, I mean, you could always justify something. Like I said, just like out at the bar, you see some fight, you don't know them, but you could be like, oh, that guy was a biker, and this other guy was a skinhead, so I jumped in, I fought. Yeah.
Well, that's because Michael Brooks is a like identity politics type. Well, we take Obama because he breaks the color code of the presidency. We take Obama because, and it's a rationalization, and it's not to say that it's not correct.
We couldn't choose otherwise. Yeah, right.
But
Because we had no better choice than Obama.
Well, yeah.
That moment.
And
yes.
It's not to say that those things aren't valid.
But it's like what?
Yeah. Initially, because I did agree essentially with Sam Cedar and Michael Brooks. What I didn't get was when we were talking about issues and everything, that it became a double standard as, well, sorry, if this candidate or these people talk about these issues, I want to hear from these people instead. You guys are supposed to be followers, not leaders. These are the leaders. And so you're dumb or you're this if you don't. And it's like, well, now you've just split people from each other, and I'm not just somebody who blindly, like Hillary, or what is it? Hillary, I agree, has to earn a vote. I don't owe it to her,
Yeah.
And these people are plutocrats that pass around power to each other, and they know, hey, and it's like Obama, when Obama was debating Romney, and Romney was talking against Russians, and he said, your foreign policy is from the 1980s, like they call him. So he's making a criticism of Romney that he's anti-Russian, but when it becomes convenient, they all turn anti-Russian. And let me tell you something, it's not because they're anti-Russian, it's because it's politics, and they want power, because with power comes money, and they want that. And so it's like Trump did it well, Trump beat them, and now they're just going to turn the narrative so that they can take that back. And you're a dupe if you think you just want to hand it to them without criticism, because you want to think that so-and-so is a dum-dum because somebody told me that. It's like, dude, sidestep Sam Cedar, sidestep Michael Brooks, and go and listen to people like, I was Richard Wolff for economics. Right. Listen to John, what's his name? That he does foreign correspondence, and he's on RT quite a bit now. And he basically, what's that guy's name? Or something, or
RT.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, RT will give you a different perspective, so you can fill yourself in. It's totally like, yeah, man. I don't know. I just lost my train of thought there. I was thinking of something. Let's look at race. It's exact. Yeah. Basically, like the fact that Obama added wars is what is insane in a way, because the whole time when we first voted for him against Hillary, it was saying like Hillary voted for the Iraq war. He said, we're going to be as careful getting out as we were careless getting in. Remember that? That's a classic quote of Obama, but he never really got out, I guess. That's what happened. Right? I don't know. And we're at a point we don't even know what getting out means because of that goddamn that act. And that's another thing I had in that song. It was the foreign. There's this one act, but it's almost like all this stuff passed during Bush never got, resolved with Obama at all. He just kept going with it. That the authorization to use military force, basically, the way it happened with Bush. That same law is the same reason that they can just do whatever. It's all not been so for anyone to look at Trump, and even if they saw a glimmer, and then like if someone was a purist anti-war focused person, I wouldn't blame them, even some of them, to vote for Trump just out of desperation. Just be like, I've been lied to. I don't trust Hillary because she's coming from the same. She's even more warlike than Obama, and Obama already went back on his message. But yeah, we're going in. This is why Tulsi's attitude and the reason she went against Hillary is very clear. And this is why I think she makes less children die. Like she said, I don't want Hillary because she's more aggressive overseas. Like Tulsi's very clear. She is not a war. She's the class, the only kind of, let me explain one thing to these fucking naysayers. And it's insane, dude. Do you realize how hard it is to be anti-war in this fucking environment? of where we live. And this is probably my last point, a major point here, is that like if you want to be anti-war, you have to have some war cred. I feel like that's unfortunate, but true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you even want to be president, you have to have some war cred. Like, you're never ever, and that's a thing that might worry about Bernie too, or like whatever. Like, I'm not going to worry about this myself and how I vote, but even to like, I know a lot of people, the perception, I don't even know if there's a candidate out there, but they've been crushed time and time again if they just were too absolutely pure, like hippie, like anti-war, just to actually win. So like I feel like if you got anti-war but you got like a military in your pocket, it gets you in the door with the people who also like have military leanings, you know? Like a lot of people think you just hate the military if you're anti-war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you hate everyone who, you know, stirring up and bring a gun to do it. You know, like
military, you must be anti-troops, and it's not synonymous.
It's not true, but it's a perception that like Tulsi breaks that perception. That's the kind of stuff I like to see that I think will gather more votes. It's just simple, like looking at, again, I'm looking at the players on the field, and I'm trying to be an actual coach who's picking the team and not just be like a bootlicker who already fucking has someone who Bobby's dad, you know, like who knows Bobby's dad from the business or whatever. Like, it's like totally a losing strategy if you don't evaluate your candidates on their actual skills. Tulsi Gabbard is a very, very competent candidate, and it's exciting that she's running. I don't give a fuck what you guys will all see. You guys will all see.
And they'll ultimately vote for her if she became the candidate.
Exactly. So I'm not even worried, because if she does win this, which is hopefully a battle, and I want to tell you that the worst possible thing was, like, again, like I'm saying with this analogy, like, oh, what team is going to be better when like 20 people try out for the team, or when just like 4 people try out? You want numbers. It's a simple thing.
Well,
like,
it will
more candidates.
It would the thing about it, it'll matter for the Democratic Party, because I do think that, you know, when we saw Bernie running, there was a record number of registered people to vote. They were inspired to vote for somebody for the first time. When the primary fucked Bernie over for the candidacy, they stayed home because they went back to what they were before, which is not inspired to vote. And so if they continue to play this corporate game like they did in 2016, and they steal the election or give it to whoever, however you want to perceive it, expect people to stay home and expect people or to vote, you know, however, if they want to participate and they vote however, which I don't think that if they vote libertarian or they vote for another party, they're still doing the country a service, because if they can garner the vote, we actually get now a third party that can be up there on the debates, so that when somebody like Trump is criticizing Hillary, and calling her crooked Hillary, you can have a person up there going, can we balance this conversation out by not talking about stupid shit, Hillary and Trump? Can we talk about what matters, like climate change? Let me ask you, and like be a third voice or another voice, because they have 2 parties in like the most monumental like decision for our country. If you can't see that that's just not in the benefit of like a one political rich party, then that's just really unfortunate. You can't see how that's manipulating like this idea of good and bad, which really, it should be more of a spectrum. And so if you're not inspired, just at least don't stay at home. Go and vote for even a wacko like Gary Johnson if he's running, you know. Jesus.
Dude, vote for, no, it's very true that there's a lot of attitude and bullshit, and there should be more conversation. And then I'm looking forward to it, because we're going to see that. We're going to see the debate with Tulsi. Is it going to be like Clinton, where she had limited debates? You guys remember that? how many times we got to go back to that shit? Like,
We'll
I mean, I hope we have a lot of debates. I hope we have a lot of candidates. I'm not worried. Like, it's like the people who are, and I tell you, I'm going to support Tulsi already. I'm supporting Tulsi, you know, even over Bernie. I probably am going to go Tulsi. I'm not sure. I might go Bernie, but I feel like if I go Tulsi, I might have to do it on a electability standpoint, you know, depending how she performs. Again, I'm going to look at them on the court. So I'm not going to. So those two guys are the ones I'm looking at, Bernie and Tulsi. Elizabeth Warren, I also think is okay.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I worried about her is like she's way behind on like legal weed. It wasn't that she switched. She's moving in the right direction, but there wasn't that long ago. I'm going to say it was still after 2012, 15. At some point, she, in a debate, said, she basically was like, gave shit on the reef. I didn't like it. I'm not going to give specifics. And the other thing about her that gets me is she has a very fake, like, I'm sorry, but it's the way it sounds. It sounds like she's talking to, treating you like a child, like when she's talking to you, and it comes across as fake, even though she might be sincere. I'm hard to explain. Like, I worry about her selling the sincerity, and then when I add to the financial stuff she's done, seems like she's really proud of herself, but I don't really think much has really been like accomplished. You know, I think it's a lot of like waving your fist, and she doesn't really get to the heart of it, which is that Obama, when the whole bailout occurred, all of us homeowners basically got the money that went down from you bought a property at 400 grand or 200 grand. Now it's only 100. So all that money went away. That wasn't your fault. You know what I'm saying? You got that loan for 200 grand. You bought this thing. They appraised it. They approved the loan, and it goes down to 100 grand. And like, you're basically shit out of luck. You lost 100 grand. What the fuck's up with that? You know, they were the ones who had the appraiser appraise it at 200 and gave you the loan. And then that money goes away, and then they end up getting it back. Like, what I'm trying to say is that you never get that back. Like, you basically loaned out and then you had the item that was now devalued, if you know what I'm saying, when the market crashed.
The thing I like about Elizabeth Warren is that prior to her being a senator, she was able to really diagnose the problem, and she was responsible for helping create solutions. And she was, you know, she, like, when she gets those bankers in front of her, she really like takes them to town. The thing that I feel like she's weak on is using that momentum to then hold her party accountable, to saying you should be joining me on this to protect the people of the country, because then we take that message to the people and they vote for us. You know, instead she's kind of weak on this because I think she thinks that they have to maintain that part of the Democratic Party, no matter if, you know, there are loose strands running around representing opposite positions in her. And I honestly think that leads me to another point is the Democratic Party would be much stronger if they had a strong leader, and if it was somebody like Bernie Sanders or whoever that could create a similar platform like Jeremy Corbyn in England, where they actually created a manifesto that I have downloaded, and you could read it and look at it, and as the politicians talk about the issues, you can match it up to what the platform says, and if they stray from that, you can go, what are you doing? This is what we stand for, Joe Manchin or Joe O'Donnell or whatever his name is, and like, you're literally supporting the other side. You're not one of us because we know what we stand for, and it's in print, you know, and we're not just platitudes of saying a better deal that's better for
that's what,
better. It's like, no, the thing we stand. This is what we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. And if you're not on board with us, then GTFO, like whatever, you know, go do your own thing, because it's not what we're doing. And it lets everybody not have to debate and look up the separate issues. It's right there in print.
That's where weed legalization comes in as a very clear-cut issue. Like, it's kind of funny how, like, I'm sitting here yelling at everybody to do that, like, for years and years and years, and it's an obvious play. So it's kind of like insane. Like again, it's like basketball coach. I'm like, use the pick and roll. They haven't been used. You know, it's the most easiest play to do to bring things forward and to ease human suffering and stop wasting money and be popular. Isn't that what, you know, all the things they say? And so it's like, just do it. So they're basically, that's Tulsi Gabbard. She was out ahead on weed. She has so much going for her that for this to be anything but just a great day. That's all I gotta say. Tulsi's running, and I had a chance to talk to you, Cool Cat. I gotta get some sleep. Fair for the next day. Let's see what's happening on Twitter or whatever. Nothing too much. Whatever. I've told you kind of about the comments, Cool Cat, and anything you want to say, give me a shout on Twitter, but I'll talk to you soon. But anything you want to say to sign off here? What do you think, man? Any other topics or plugs, items of concern?
Not anything that will not take us into another conversation and that will last. But I will say, you know, if people who aren't who are just listening, who, you know, maybe want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at coolcat0001. It's an old account, and that's what I used to do. And also, if you're looking at Facebook, I post some political stuff on at Guerrilla Communication Tactics, and it's guerrilla like the combat, not gorilla like the monkey.
Okay, yeah.
Guerrilla Communication Tactics. I got that from something that Abby Hoffman had said about using these communication tactics to get our ideas out, and whatever you stand for, I think that's the important part. So, yep, Guerrilla Communication Tactics. Boop, boop, boop.
Yes, man, and get out there, see what's going on the web. Also, enjoy whatever's going on in the real world. Although the web is, I feel this was a real conversation. And thanks for joining me, Michael. Michael Cool Cat 001. Bring it on. Happy Tulsi Day. And everyone who joined in this chat, thank you. Thank you for your comments, good and bad. It was a very lively session. And if sometimes you might have been talking, Cool Cat, and I was just like looking at these comments flowing in, and I might have just kind of been overwhelmed. It's amazing. The Tulsi madness is upon us. So let's have fun with it. Let's appreciate. I think she's going to make people talk about shit, man. Much better. Like, there's no bad here. There's no bad here. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Like, is on the marijuana, on like, we need to just enjoy the talk. Enjoy, like, everybody has to get over there. And even war, I think, is almost like a fucking, like I don't know, a convention. You got to be crazy to not support war. But we will get over that. Thank you for joining me, my man. And hey, catch you on the next time, buddy. It's been a while. We have to do this again. Michael DeWitt signing out, bud.
All right, see you, man.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.